Okay, so today we'll tell you how to join ESBICM online classes. Once you open up the website esbicm.com, you will get this sort of page. Go to learning resources, click on online classes calendar, and once you click on online classes calendar, this calendar will show up. Now, in this, we have listed our online classes schedule, and once you hover up any class schedule, you will get to know the topic of this class, you date, time of that class, and also the joining link is also there in the class details. So anybody from anywhere in the world can join this class. Limited seats are there to, so make sure you join on time. Thank you. So welcome to all. So this is another session of ESB ICM weekly classes. Earlier we used to do in the ICUs, but now because of the many requests, some classes we have planned to do it online so that everybody can participate and listen. So these will be not very detailed classes, but practical aspects we'll be discussing. So today with me is Dr. Abhi Paliwal, who has done DNB family medicine and is also undergoing fellowship in critical care. So we'll be discussing the practical aspects of dengue, warning signs, and specific focus will be on the IV fluids management. It's a special request from our YouTube member, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Thank you. So Dr. Abhi, you can start.
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone. As sir has already told, like our today's topic for us, like is warning signs and IV fluid management in dengue. So, as we all know, like dengue is like one of the endemic. It is like going on now. It is like one of the vector-borne viral disease. So, as far as we know, there are like 4 serotypes of the dengue: dengue 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we know about the incubation period and all. It is of around like 4 to 10 days. Dengue actually it will be in like 3 phases. Like first will be like the febrile period, the second will be the critical, and the third will be in the recovery phase. So if we'll go like if we'll see how to categorize the patient, whether it is like and how to and when to admit the patient and when to tell that patient is requiring intensive care management. So for this purpose, now actually recently newer guidelines they have introduced. So first we'll go for the warning signs and symptoms in the dengue. So like if we know like how are the symptoms of the like what are the warning symptoms, if you see we know like in dengue patient will be presenting with the complaints of fever, but what are the warning signs when we should get activated? So the symptoms will be other than that, if the patient is having symptoms of pain of abdominal pain or recurrent vomiting or like some postural hypotension or like sweating or like this symptoms. Another signs will be like patient will be having like tachycardia, hepatomegaly, and cold extremities, and like low pulse pressure and increase in diastolic pressure. So these are the warning signs and symptoms. And one more thing, like another one is like one of the bleeding, any bleeding manifestation. These are all the signs and symptoms which we'll see in the, we'll consider as the warning signs and symptoms that will like alarm us for the patient's admission or another type of like treatment. Now, if you'll go for like how to categorize the patient, so now another like guidelines have come. So they are like dengue viral infection. If patient is like symptomatic, so we are dividing the patients into mild dengue, moderate dengue, and severe dengue. So based on the warning signs and symptoms, actually this division is there. So now we can see in the slide also. So like if dengue viral infection, if it is symptomatic, if it is mild means like fever without any warning signs or any warning signs or symptoms. So this is the most of these cases we can manage on OPD basis and send the patient home management, and regular follow-up can be done. Another classification will be on the basis of moderate dengue. What is moderate dengue? Moderate dengue actually it is dengue fever with warning signs, and another one is like with patients with which are having like another comorbid conditions. So as we have already discussed, what are the warning signs and symptoms? So moderate dengue fever with warning signs will come in the moderate dengue. And what are the other comorbid conditions? So comorbid conditions will have like extreme stage, like either infants or old age people having diabetic, hypertension, or any pregnancies, or hemoglobinopathies or immunocompromised patient or patient already on some steroids, antiplatelets. Yes.
Okay, not an issue. So Dr. Avi has to leave due to some, he was in the ICU. So, so he was telling about this moderate dengue with comorbid condition and dengue with warning signs. So if the patient is having comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, pregnancy is, you should always take care. Pregnant female always consider as moderate dengue. And then hemoglobinopathies, if the patient is on some steroids due to ILD or certain autoimmune diseases, then also it's a moderate disease. Or if the patient is on any anticoagulants or immunosuppressants, rheumatic arthritis or any other patient. Now, dengue fever with warning signs and symptoms means we have to already discuss if the patient is having dengue but not able to take orally, recurrent vomiting, there is abdominal pain and tenderness, maybe because of this developing ascites or liver failure, or there is a patient become lethargic, or the patient is developing signs of leaky capillary syndromes like mild pleural effusion, ascites, hepatomegaly, and if the patient is becoming dehydrated, third space loss, the hematocrit value will go up. Ideally, it is more than 20%, but it's very difficult to identify patients with to map the patient in which hematocrit is more than 20%. But so on average, if you see the CBC of a patient and the hemoglobin is coming 15, 16, you know that this patient is dehydrated, 14, 15, 16. Usually it's somewhere around 12 to 14. So if hemoglobin is a little bit high, that means the patient is a little bit dehydrated. And if dengue hemorrhagic fever with minor bleeds, it also comes under moderate dengue. Then if you have severe dengue, means that all patients with dengue fever or dengue hemorrhagic fever means significant hemorrhage, bleeding from anywhere, or dengue fever with shock, or there is
Sorry, sir.
or there is an extensive organ involvement, or there is severe metabolic disorder, patient has started developing metabolic acidosis or any other signs. So mild dengue can be treated at home. Moderate dengue, you should closely monitor. Ideally, we should hospitalize this patient. And any patient with dengue hemorrhagic fever, dengue with shock or severe organ should be taken care in tertiary level care, ideally which has have a good ICU setup. So now Dr. Abhi is back. He can take us to news.
Yes, sir. So, sir, third is like the severe dengue fever.
We have discussed that. We have discussed this severe dengue.
Okay.
And then we are on this slide expanded dengue fever.
Expanded dengue syndrome. It is the like new terminology. They have like they have told like it is like dengue fever with severe organ involvement. So organ involvement, if you'll go from like head down, it is like if it is CNS, it might be with some encephalitis, encephalopathy, or seizure or intracranial bleed. If you'll go down in the eyes, it is like conjunctival bleed, macular hemorrhage, or visual impairment like that. If you'll go in lungs, if it is like pleural effusion, ARDS, in cardiac, it is arrhythmia with cardiomyopathy, myocarditis. In renal, it is like hemolytic uremic syndrome, acute tubular nephrotic, or AKI. So like this, if it is the expanded dengue syndrome. So like this, we have classified the patient into like symptomatic patient into mild, moderate, and severe dengue fever. Now we'll go for the management part. So our like more focus will be today on the IV fluid management. IV fluid management in the dengue patients. Okay. So it is like moderate dengue patient. As you already know, mild dengue we can manage with home management also. So moderate dengue patient will need to manage them with the IV fluids. So IV fluids, the choice of fluids will be like crystalloids. Crystallite, it is like 0.9% NS or RL. Okay, so what is how we'll see the rise in hematocrit of like more than 20% with thrombocytopenia or any like bleeding tendencies. So in these cases, we'll have to initiate IV fluids at around like 6 ml per kg per hour for 1 to 2 hours. It is like both the things are there in the dengue fluid management. It is like we'll have to resuscitate the patient with the IV fluid. At the same time, we have to see that we should not overload the patient with the fluid. So if the patient is like, we'll have to initiate IV fluid therapy at like around 6 ml per kg per hour for 2 hours. And then we'll see for the improvement in the patient. Improvement, as you can see in the slide also, improvement in the sense is the fall in the hematocrit or pulse rate and blood pressure is stable, or urine output, it is like improved. And if it is like improved, then we have to successfully reduce the fluid. Okay, so if it is like from 6 ml per kg per hour, you can reduce it to 3 to 5 ml per kg per hour for another 2 to 4 hours, then further reduce it to 3 to 1.5 ml per kg per hour for like another 24 to 48 hours. Actually, fluid management in this in dengue patients will be like, we'll calculate it in critical phase. Actually, we do for like 48 hours. It is there in the Holiday and Segar formula, based on which we will calculate the total fluid amount required. But in these guidelines, they have already told we have to resuscitate the patient with this amount of fluid. If there is no improvement, means in no improvements, like hematocrit, if it is falling, pulse rate and blood pressure are stable, and urine output, it is not increasing. So if hematocrit is on rising trend, then we have to increase the IV fluid, that is to 10 ml per kg per hour for 2 hours. Then again we'll check, like every 2 to 4 hours we have to reassess the patient. If suppose there is fall in the hematocrit, and then we'll have to suspect for some internal hemorrhage. If there is no improvement is there, and the PCV or hematocrit is in on the falling, it's falling, then we have to suspect some internal hemorrhage, and the blood transfusion should be given for those patients. Okay, that blood transfusion, it is like Paxil of almost 5 ml per kg we can give. If after that, if there is improvement, then again we can continue like crystallite IV fluid at the same rate of around 0.9% NS at on the way we have given, like 6 ml per kg per hour. Then subsequently we can reduce.
Okay.
It is for the moderate dengue fever.
So now if we do calculate for practical purposes, suppose you have a patient of 70 kg patient. So 7 into 6,
Yes, sir.
42 means somewhere around 420 ml per hour. So you can roughly, it's around 500 ml per hour. You should resuscitate with the fluid for a couple of hours. Then if you reduce to 3 ml per hour, then means 300 ml per hour. Then 3 to 1.5, so somewhere around 100 to 150 ml per hour for 12 to 48 hours. So this will turn out into, suppose the patient comes to you with moderate dengue, you check the hematocrit that it's a little bit high, you feel that this patient is dehydrated, so start with giving some boluses, or if not, you start with 500 ml per hour for a couple of hours, then reduce it 300, then come down to 100 to 150 ml per hour for next 24 to 48 hours. Hydration is very important. The same point is discussed here. Only thing is hematocrit is not improving. So you have to think, either we are giving less quantity of fluid, so you should start with 10 ml per kg. So if 70 kg patient come, you should give it to 700 ml per hour, or somewhere around one. You can also give 700 to 800 ml per hour for a few hours, and then reduce drastically. Now, if your hematocrit falls very fast, that means the patient is losing blood also. So you should look for signs of bleeding and should transfuse the blood accordingly. So that is the practical calculation. Now I'll move to next slide. Okay, Dr. B. So this is complicated dengue management.
Yes, sir. Now it is like, again we'll go to like severe dengue. So severe dengue, it is like if it is patient with the compensated shock or decompensated profound shock. So compensated shock is like pulse pressure of less than 20, a systolic blood pressure around less than 90, or like more than 20% rise in hematocrit. So in this cases, whether when we were like previously we were starting at around 6 ml per kg per hour, now we'll have to resuscitate the patient at around 10 to 20 ml per kg per hour of the fluid for around 1 to 2 hours. Then again, after like we have to reassess for the patient for the vital signs and the hematocrit. Then we have to subsequently, if it is in the improving trend, then we have to reduce like from 10 to 20 to from 10 ml per kg per hour for another 2 hours, then 6, then 3 to 1.5 for another 2 to 4 hours. And for this fluid management will be around for like same, it is for 24 to 48 hours we have to monitor the patient, and we have to give fluid calculation total for like 24 to 28 hours. But if there is like no improvement in the condition of the patient, then again we have to check the hematocrit. If it is in the rising trend, if it is like more than 40-45% if of the hematocrit is rose from the baseline value, then we'll have to decide about the crystallite, or we can give like colloids also, and like some like dextran or hemaxil or albumin also we can give. It will be around like 10 ml per kg for over 1 hour we have to give, and we have to see for the any improvement of this improvement is there in the patient or not. Similarly, like how we did in the previous scenario, like if hematocrit is in falling trend, we have to suspect the bleeding, and and accordingly we have to give the transfusion of the blood transfusion. One more thing, it is like if it is like suppose the patient is having like hypotension continuously, refractory hypotension is there, so they are told like we have to see for the ABCS. What is ABCS? It is like we have to look for the acidosis, any bleeding, and we have to think about like calcium and sugars. Okay, so if patient is getting acidotic or something, we have to replace, we have to give the bicarbs, or if there is some bleeding, we have to think about a transfusing of the platelets or FFP. Another thing, it is like if calcium supplement, it is required because in viral myocarditis and all, there will the contractility will be low. So we'll have to supplement with the calcium. Another thing is the sugar.
So it's a very nice thing. Dr. Abhi told that you should look for ABCS. It's A stand for acidosis, B stand for bleeding, C stand for calcium, and calcium, and S stand for sugar. So this ABCS is a very nice thing. We should understand that any acidosis, any sign of bleeding, any electrolyte imbalance, especially calcium and hyperglycemia or falling sugar, these are bad signs. So you should take the patient on inotropes and crystalloids for the same. Criteria for discharge, Dr. Abhi has told that hospitalized patient who has recovered from acute dengue infection and has no fever in the last 24 hours, normal BP, adequate urine output, no respiratory distress, persistent platelet count more than means rising count should be there. Persistent means that even on 3 readings, if the platelet count was always stuck above 500, 50,000, then they can be discharged. So I need to come back to this slide and want to give you a brief idea about these warning signs. See, we have discussed, but you need to understand that any dengue patient who has started developing signs of capillary leaky syndrome, then, any patient who has signs of capillary leaky syndrome should be picked up early so that they can be picked at a mild to moderate state and so that they don't deteriorate. Fluid management is very important. If you don't hydrate the patient and if you keep the hemoglobin more than 15 or hematocrit more than 45 in the initial phases, that leads to vascular ischemia and it manifests as renal failure, CNS failure, your hepatic failure, myopathies, and dengue shock. So if you receive a call that the patient is having dengue, running high-grade fever, but he's having recurrent vomitings, or there is slight abdominal pain or tenderness, or the kid or the person is lethargic, is feeling very weak, then on clinical history, you can judge that this patient requires hospitalization and hydration. Mind you, high-grade fever is not a criteria for as a warning sign, but persistent high-grade fever with this manifestation should be treated early. Minor bleeding, slight urine bleed or slight upper GI bleed or conjunctival hemorrhages, this comes under minor bleed. Pleural effusion ascites, you will see this patient when the patient lands in ICU or your hospitalization. Hepatomegaly, increasing hematocrit. So these are all the signs should be picked up early. Any signs of leaky capillary syndrome should be treated immediately, means your fluid is not remaining in the intravascular compartment, it is going into the extravascular compartment. So you need to keep a balance between crystalloids and colloids. So all these guidelines, what they say is the initial resuscitation is very important. You should start with, in practically, if a patient comes dengue, you give the fluid bolus in 1 hour, 1 liter in 1 hour, 1 liter in next hour, and then reduce to 500 ml per hour for a couple of hours, and then reduce it to 200 ml or 150 ml or 100 ml. This fluid resuscitation in the initial 48 hours is very important, and most of the time it improves the patient. If you feel that we are giving the fluid but the patient is having ascites, there is anasarca, there is a pleural effusion, you start your colloids. In our center we usually use albumin as a rate of 10 ml per hour, and we keep it continuous. We don't give a halt. We continue 10 ml per hour, and that way we want that fluid should remain in the intravascular compartment, and most of the patients improve. So picking the patients with a leaky capillary syndrome is very important. You should keep a balance of fluid plus colloids, preferably albumin. And if you treat the patient, manage the patient in the initial 72 to 96 hours, most of the patients recover. Thank you.